Hey there. I thought it would be nifty to give you guys an updated, kind of long-wearing glass skin routine for this summer, just because I felt like it. That's it. Be sure to like this video while you are here, comment anything you want to comment down below, even if it's just to say hi, and I will say hi back and it'll be great. Check the description box for any and everything I'm doing on the internet if you're interested in that. And also all the fun, important, cool resources I usually link down there for you guys. Also, subscribe if you have not already. You probably won't regret it. My dog is in the room with me. If you hear heavy breathing, it's just him. He's probably also going to continually ask to go out and then be let back in, and then go out and then be let back in. That's how he is. Anyway, skin is all prepped. I'm not really gonna go over that in this video because I think I'm gonna do like an updated how I prep my skin for makeup IGTV video. If you don't follow me on Instagram, consider doing that. The link will be down below. I do like a skincare IGTV series over there. And I have done a video about how I prep my skin for makeup. And when I did my last glass skin tutorial, I included skin prep more or less in that video, and it hasn't really changed. It's just that products I use are different, that kind of thing. So I might update you guys on that over on my Instagram. But the important things that I went over last time that I want to reiterate this time is exfoliation, moisturizer, sunscreen. All very, very, very important. I also did kind of sandwich in there an oil controlling lotion. Because I have an oily T-zone. I have combo oily skin, so that part is important for me. Everyone's skin is different. Your skin prep is probably gonna be pretty different from mine. That's just what I felt a need to do. Now, I'm gonna put on makeup primer. I just zoomed you in a bit to give you the before on the skin. Full disclosure, this is typically just what I look like leaving the house. This is like my actual day-to-day glass skin routine is my skincare. I've just been really loving letting my skin breathe, and most of the time when I leave my house, it's just to go to work. I'm very, very introverted. I don't leave my house a lot. And my job is fairly physically demanding, so to me personally, it doesn't make sense for me to be wearing makeup at work. So this is just how I go to work on a regular basis. In the very beginning at my new job, I did wear like the most minimal 5-minute face of makeup, which I can film for you guys if you're interested in seeing how I did that. But at some point I realized there was no point because I was just a sweaty mess at work. So I just stopped wearing makeup altogether. So yeah, this is actually my realistic day-to-day glass skin is just my morning skincare routine situation. But when I feel like getting glam, you know, if I want to look cute over on the TikTok, do I actually have the fucking time to be on TikTok? No. Am I trying anyway because it's fun? Yes. I'm actually in the midst of filming TikToks as I film this video as well, like a real adult. Anyway, if I just feel like getting cute for the gram or whatever, this is like how I do my glass skin base. I'm gonna zoom you back out. That's good. First and foremost, primer. This is a primer that I think will work for a variety of skin types actually, and it's very affordable and pretty accessible. I think currently it is available on the Ulta website. I'm not so sure about in stores, but I have seen it in stock on the site. I love this primer. This is the Jelly Pop Dew Primer. I'm sure you've heard lots of people talk about how great it is. Plenty of people have said it's a dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. I can't speak to that. I haven't tried that one. I was kind of warned away from it when I saw that a lot of people were experiencing breakouts by using that primer. I'm gonna use one pump, because one pump is really more than enough for our purposes today. I'm kind of at a point now where I've just kind of realized that as long as you're taking good care of your skin, makeup primer isn't entirely necessary. But this one I recommend. It's been out for a while. It's not a new product by any means, but if you haven't tried it yet, I suggest you check it out. I'm just kind of gently pressing this into my skin until I don't feel like there's any left on my hands. I did use this primer in my last video actually. I did like a little get ready with me thing. This is just the primer I've been reaching for over any others in my collection recently because it's just that damn good. The reason why this is so good is because it does give you that super glowy glass skin. Like, this is really kind of an optimal primer choice if you're going for the glass skin look. But it also has a sticky kind of texture. It's very, very tacky. So it's also good for gripping makeup to your skin and helping it last longer. They also make like a minty one now that's got like a cooling effect on the skin. I think it's basically like the same kind of texture of this one. I'm very interested to try that and see how they compare. For foundation, this literally never changes. This has been my go-to foundation for about 1.5 years now. Oh my god. The shade I'm using, this is the NYX Born to Glow foundation, by the way. The shade I'm using is Light Porcelain. I'm dampening my makeup sponge with a mattifying setting spray because this is a more glowy finish foundation and I go pretty light on powder as a general rule. That's why I'm using a mattifying spray to dampen my sponge. Kind of get it set as we blend it out in a way. You can just dampen your sponge with water. You don't have to use setting spray. Last time I did one of these tutorials, I used concealer as my base and I dotted it directly on the skin. We're doing things a little differently this time. I've kind of used my sponge, the butt of my sponge, and like dabbed it in there and really kind of sheared it out on the back of my hand. And I'm applying basically to the inner portions of my cheeks first, kind of around the corners of my nose too, and then I'm turning it to the more like pointed edge and blending it out with that. Let me get these marks on my nose from my glasses. Did I wear my glasses today? So this foundation is great because it's got a very customizable coverage going for it. It's more full coverage than you're expecting it to be, but once you kind of get used to working with it, you can make it work for whatever kind of base you want to go for. I'm more of a light to medium coverage kind of girl. In fact, the lighter the better. I like my foundation as sheer as possible because I like for my skin to look as much like skin as possible. I'm pretty sure I've covered that here before at multiple times, but if you're new here, now you know what's up. So that's one layer, basically. Look at how much foundation I still have on the back of my hand though. So I am gonna add just a little bit more, nothing crazy. I just don't want to waste product. That's the only thing about this foundation is the packaging sucks. The packaging is so bad and it makes it really easy for you to wind up with too much product. Like, that's definitely more than I need for my typical base. It all just kind of comes shooting out of there, man. Also, just the way that I typically do my base, because I realized I'm not really talking you through this very well. I pretty much start with the most coverage in the center of my face and work it out from there. Gradually. In the areas where I have like the most texture, I'm being very light-handed because I just kind of find the more product you put on those kind of areas, the more textured it's going to look. It's just going to enhance that texture. That's why I generally don't use a lot of powder, actually. Okay, now before we go in with our powder situation, I am going to use some cream products. When it comes to this particular kind of base, I'm a big fan of layering creams and powders, especially if we're going for a long wearing kind of look and we need it to last us for any significant amount of time. First and foremost, handy dandy Fenty Matchstick in the shade Amber. If you were here for the last glass skin tutorial situation, but you weren't here for my last video that I just uploaded, that Get Ready With Me, then you may not know that I have changed the way that I apply this contour stick. Instead of drawing it directly on, which would have been a step prior to foundation application for me back in the day, I'm actually going to take this brush, just kind of picking it up. Should I zoom you in for this part? So instead of going like in this shadow, this natural shadow that you see here, I'm actually going to place it a little bit above that. Like, I'm basically going to blend this out on my cheekbone area. When it comes to contouring and bronzing and all that good stuff, I place product as high as I can without it looking goofy. because if you place your product too low and then you inevitably wind up blending it even further down, it's going to drag all your features down. So I keep this pretty high. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror kind of straight on and kind of do this, kind of creating the illusion of a very carved kind of cheekbone. It's almost very reminiscent of the way that I contour my face for... Yes, Siku? Mom just pulled into the driveway.
Okay. Go see Mom. Go.
This is almost like what I'm doing now, with the kind of tracing it down over my cheek. It's very reminiscent of the way that I contour my face when I do my Maleficent makeup. Every time I do the Maleficent makeup, I think to myself that I should do like a toned down version of that contour in my everyday makeup. And so that's more or less kind of what I do now with this contour stick. Because hey man, that was a look. Those cheekbones are a look, okay? I like that for me. Might also hit just a little bit, very subtly, under my jawline to kind of hit these outer corners first, and then directly under the chin. Kind of leading it up toward that cheekbone contour, but not connecting them, because I want it to be very, very soft. Since I put this over my foundation, I kind of have to be more careful about my placement and my blending here, and then just kind of feathering it down and leading it into the hollows of my throat. If I feel like it looks too harsh, I'll go over with my sponge that I applied my foundation with to soften it up. Now we're gonna go in with a cream blush. I'm using this blush specifically because the formula is just perfect for long wearing makeup. If you need it, especially if you need it to like withstand heat, the longevity of this product is just kind of incredible to me. So I'm going in with this Rare Beauty blush in the shade Bliss. It's described as a neutral pink, and I can kind of see why, but on my skin tone it does pull quite a bit more like a neutral peach. It's just a really perfect blend of peach and pinky tones. If you were here for my last video, you know that's just the tone of blush I've been reaching for more often than any others for warmer weather months. This product is incredibly pigmented. A little bit goes a very, very, very long way. It can actually be a little scary at first, but it blends out like a dream. And you guys also know, if you were here for my last video, that I am a fan of over-applying blush. With this particular formula, you almost can't help it. If you're using this blush, you're gonna wind up with a lot of blush on. You guys saw I used like that itty bitty little dot of it. Something I also said in my last video in regards to the over-applying of blush is I straight up like to apply my blush until it looks like I have a sunburn. So this is kind of the perfect blush for that purpose as well. This is the matte formula. There's also a dewy formula, which I haven't tried from them yet, but I'm very interested to. I'm gonna put a little bit on the tip of my nose. Really blend that out on the back of my hand first though, and then just gently apply it to the tip of my nose. This does kind of almost dry down to like a powdery matte because of how glowy the foundation and everything is. It does look more satiny right now. I've heard some people say that this formula is almost like too matte for like a glowy base kind of deal. That hasn't been my experience with it. I don't know if it's just because I have an oilier skin type or what. This has been like perfect. It does feel like almost like a velvety, like powdery matte. It looks very natural and skin-like to me. But I've heard some people say that when it dries down on them, it's almost like too dry looking. So that's something to keep in mind, depending on your skin type. I like this specifically for heat, especially if you live in a place like where I live. I'm in Las Vegas, for particularly hot weather because it has serious pigment. It has incredible staying power because it does stain your skin. Full disclosure, it can leave a stain on your skin. But not like in a terrible way. It just kind of, as it wears throughout the day, looks more and more like a natural flush. It's nice on its own. I think I am going to go over top with a glowy kind of powder blush because, like I said earlier, I like to layer creams and powders. It's my thing. Now, finally, before we move on to powdering our face, I'm going to use a little liquid highlighting situation. This actually isn't marketed as a liquid highlighter. It's a face primer. It's the NYX High Glass Face Primer, but the texture and the tone of it is just so incredibly beautiful for like a natural glossy skin kind of highlight. It reminds me very much, actually. I think this could be a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. So if you've been curious to try out the Charlotte Tilbury one, try the NYX one first. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. Picking up just a little bit. I'm kind of following my cheekbone with that. Oof. So I'm hitting the highest point of my cheek and then I'm kind of angling it toward my ear, if that makes any sense. I've adjusted the way that I highlight my face, that's why I'm explaining this. And then as I come down here, instead of like stopping here, I'm kind of gently tapping it out and kind of curving it downward. So I just kind of find lately that that is actually more flattering than doing the typical like C shape with your highlight. Like I generally say when it comes to highlighting the face, you have to think about how light naturally travels over your skin. Hitting my Cupid's bow. I enjoy a really intense Cupid's bow highlight. If that's not for you, you can skip out. Generally, feel free to highlight your face however you like to. I'm just showing you how I've been doing it. I also like to hit the center of my nose, kind of blend it out between the brows, and then I just kind of tap whatever is left over the nostril area. Do a very minimal amount on my chin. My chin is one of the areas where I get very, very, very oily, so I'm really not putting a lot here. I'm laying on the cream highlight pretty heavy because I know I'm about to powder my face. And I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna use a powder highlight actually later on. So I gave myself a generous amount to work with. So I'm gonna layer it up quite a bit. Oh, I straight up don't highlight my forehead anymore, by the way. I don't know why I was like so stubbornly trying to make that look work for me for so long. I have literally the oiliest forehead. Look at how glowy my forehead already is without the addition of highlight in that area. Forehead highlight is over for me, personally. It's canceled. Now, usually I set my base with a blotting powder because I want this base to have the best chance possible at lasting for a bit. I'm actually going to set my face with a bit of a powder foundation. This is the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat powder foundation. The shade I'm using is Creamy Natural, which sounds kind of gross, not gonna lie. And I'm very careful about my powder placement because I don't like a lot of powder on the skin. Because this is a powder foundation, it does have a little additional coverage to it. So I'm basically gonna apply it to the areas where I want that coverage first and kind of blend it out from there. So that on the areas where I don't want a lot of powder, I'm using as little powder as possible, just whatever's kind of left over in the brush by the time I get to them. Gonna start on like the side of the nose and the inner portion of the cheek. Into the smile lines, tap that out. Then I'm gonna go all over the forehead. Down the center of the nose. Hit my chin. So yeah, when they say stay matte but not flat, they mean it because you can see it did kind of tone down our shine, but it didn't completely kill our highlight in the areas where I applied a lot of highlight. Now I'm just going to kind of take it all over the inner portion of the cheek and kind of down here and tap over that area where I put the contour and the blush, because I want the powder, bronzer, and blush that I'm about to put on to blend over that area as cleanly and smoothly as possible. So putting down your base powder first helps with that. I'm going to kind of hit the outer portion of the under eye, eyelids as well, upper lip, and down along our jawline and a little bit down the neck, just because I did take the foundation and the contour, the cream contour, over these areas. Whatever is just the itty bitty bittiest bit that's left on there, I'm gonna hit the inner portion of the under eye area. My under eye area in particular is where I have issue with applying too much powder, because I have very textured under eyes, and I just kind of find that once I powder that area, if I go in with too much, it looks cakey and crepey and very weird. So I use as little powder on my under eyes as I possibly can manage to. This is also an optional step. I'm including it because it's something I do every time I do my makeup. I'm going to use my flower grass. Again, if you weren't here for my last video, you're probably very confused. I always use the finishing powders in here. And also, more often than not, I use the bronzer that's in here as well. You do not need to use a glowy finishing powder. It's not a necessary step. It's just something I do every time I do my makeup, and that's why I'm gonna do it now. I'm basically using the flower grass. I'm using the flower grass ones. I just love that name so much. I'm using the flower grass powders because I have 2 of their face palettes with these powders in them, and they were very expensive and I want to make use of them. But because of their recent antics, I don't want to promote them on my channel, which is why they have their special code name now, and I don't want to show the palette on camera. But just know you can use this kind of technique with any glowy finishing powders. There are so many on the market at this point, and any bronzer that you want to use. So I picked up a pretty generous mixture of the 2 finishing powders in here. With the same brush, I used the foundation. Anyway, I took a very generous mixture of the 2 finishing powders in this palette on the same brush that I used to apply my powder foundation. I'm going to tap it over the areas where I applied highlight first as a way to kind of set our cream highlight, kind of take it up onto the temples. And then I'm gonna hit everywhere else. I basically just kind of did the inverse of what I did with the powder foundation. I'm gonna take it on the under eye. These are really the only powders I feel comfortable with taking like directly onto my under eye area, because they're kind of almost impossible to over apply. Kind of take it over the whole cheek area. Now from that same palette, I'm going to pick up the bronzer. The bronzer formula in here is very, very sheer, very glowy, beautiful, skin-like, all that good stuff. But it is just a tad bit warm for my taste. So I'm actually going to take that bronzer and mix it with the same, just a little bit, same mixture of finishing powders that I used, because they're quite a bit more cool toned. So it's going to tone down that warmth and make it a more natural bronze look for me, and also help it kind of seamlessly blend into the rest of the base. Just very lightly kind of taking that over all the areas where I normally bronze. I'm basically going over where I contoured earlier, actually. Just a bit more haphazard, a bit more soft and blown out with like feather light pressure. And I'm not going to re-dip into it at all. I'm literally just going to take what I picked up on my brush and blend that over everywhere. Now that I've got that blended on my jaw, I'm going to kind of go back over this area and I'm going to kind of spin it out down toward the jaw and connect them so that everything just looks a bit more natural. And I'm just kind of taking whatever's left across the center of my face, basically kind of for that subtle sun-kissed look, because where the sun naturally hits you is the highest points of your face, so it just kind of makes more sense to me to apply your bronzer there. Now to kind of re-up our blush shade, I'm going to kind of take a powder blush that has a bit of a sheen to it, and it's kind of also that blend of peachy pink, but it's more on the rosy side. There's a bit more pink to this one, but it's got a really nice kind of golden satin sheen, so it'll play very well with our cream blush, I think. I'm using the ColourPop blush in the shade Enchanted Mirror. It's from their Midnight Masquerade, like Disney collection. This is one of my favorite blushes that I own. It was like my most used blush for a while there, actually. So I'm taking it over the same area where I put the Rare Beauty blush, but I'm also going to kind of gently blend it up over my temple and even kind of connect it to the outer corner of the eye so that it kind of ties our eye look into our base, because I'm not sure how I'm going to do the eyes yet, but that's an easy trick to kind of make everything look more seamless. This is kind of why I was not sure if I was going to apply a powder highlight or not, is because that cream highlight's gorgeous on its own. But also I knew that most of the powder products I was putting over top of my highlighted areas also had a very glowy finish, and so this is just what we're working with now, and I'm very happy with it, so I think I am going to skip out on powder highlight for today. It's not always necessary, you know? Whatever's left, I'm going to hit my chin and just kind of gently stipple it over the forehead, because again, where the sun hits first gives you the most color naturally. Okay, so this is where I forgot I had all this on the back of my hand and I totally just ran that highlighter through my hair. Oh yes. Oh yes. Anyway, this is where our base is at for now. Setting spray, you guys know if you've been here, but I'll explain it anyway. That mattifying setting spray I used to dampen my sponge earlier. I basically focus on the center of my face, pretty generous amount. And then on the perimeters of my face, I use a dewy, hydrating finish kind of setting spray, and whatever kind of floats to the center of my face and settles there is just what happens. I'm not too particular about it. I do use a combination of setting sprays because I have combination skin, so I use a mattifying spray in my oily T-zone, and then I hit the areas where I want my skin to be very glossy and glowy around the perimeters with a hydrating spray to add to that effect. I really need to go wash my hand before I have another mishap. I'm gonna do the most basic, like, soft glam eye, just the simplest eye look I possibly can, and like throw on a lip gloss and finish filming these TikToks. And I'll be back to show you the final result. Did I say simple, soft glam? Because I really meant, this. So yeah, this is the look for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm really liking it. I was actually feeling this glass skin vibe so much, I decided to pop a little bit of a body shimmer on, and now I feel like a certified hot girl. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know if you're interested in any more like base kind of tutorials, or just kind of showing you different ways I do my base, because I do it a lot of different ways. Actually, once I start dipping into self-tanner, I keep saying I'm going to, and then I keep not doing it, but eventually soon here I'm going to start dipping into self-tanner for my bod. So I kind of want to do another one of these like glass skin makeup videos, but I want to show you like how I do a super glowy base when I need to like match my face and neck to my body when I'm more tan, you know what I mean? Also, again, if you want to see what my like 5-minute face of makeup looks like how I would do my makeup if I was bothering to do my makeup for work, I can film that for you too. Let me know what kind of tutorials and or just general makeup content you want to see down below. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Neither are mandatory, but both are highly appreciated. I hope you guys are ready for Shot Girl summer and that you're staying safe out there. Be good to others, be kind to yourself, and I will see you back here for the next one. Bye!